Live. Okay. Today's date 9/20/18. Okay, so what you notice in today's lesson, it says solve. Now these are really easy. Honest, super easy. Okay. What we have is really two different x's, so we're going to have two different answers. So there's set equal to 0. So I make, since there's two different x's, I'm going to make two equations.
Yes.
I'm going to make two equations. I've got two x's, two equations. One equation is just simply x equals 0. And the other equation is simply x plus 5 equals 0. Okay? So I'm going to just make two equations. Well, x equals 0 is already solved, isn't it? Right? So that is one of our answers. X equals 0. Boom. That one's done, right? You're going to be able to do these in your head, and I'm going to annoy you because I'm going to keep showing all the work, but pretty soon you're just going to be able to do this and get it like that. Yeah.
Is it just whatever outside of the bracket?
That can change. Yeah. Okay, and if I solve this one, right, minus 5, x equals negative 5, right?
Wait, did we do this last year?
We did.
Yeah.
Right, we did. And you'll be able to probably get annoyed with me because pretty soon you already can do it in your head, but I'm going to keep teaching it anyhow because that's just what I do. Let's look at 3. Okay, let's look at 3. There are two p's, which means there will be two answers, right? So two equations. I'm going to have a 5p equals 0 and a p minus 2 equals 0, right? Again, you'll probably start doing these in your head without showing any work, but I'm going to show how to do it. So divide by 5, right? P equals 0. Plus 2, p equals 2. Okay, now let's go back to think about what the answers mean. 5 times what makes the answer 0? 5 times 0, right? If p minus 2, if p were 2, 2 minus 2 does make 0. Now, either one of those answers is correct because we know if it is 2, we'd get 10 times 0. Well, that's still 0, isn't it? If I let the answer to be 0, I'd have 0 times negative 2, but that's still going to be 0. So both answers work because 0 times anything is 0. Right? So either one gives me the answer. That's why you need both. Okay? All right, moving on. So let's look at one a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. Let's take a look at 5. Okay? Two b's, two answers, right? So I'm going to set up my two equations. 2b minus 6 equals 0, and I'm going to set up my 3b plus 18 equals 0, right? I'm just going to solve. I got my mini equations, plus 6, right? I've got a 2b equals 6. Divide by 2, and one answer, b is going to be 3. Second answer, let's solve the second equation. Minus 18, 3b equals negative 18. Divide by 3, b is negative 6. So you need both answers, and both answers are correct, okay? Now, everybody thumbs up? 7's actually pretty easy. There's two ways to do this one, but I'm going to do it by rewriting x minus 3 times x minus 3, okay? So there are technically two answers, but it's what we call a double root because it's going to be the same answer twice. I'm going to have an x minus 3 equals 0, and I'll have an x minus 3 equals 0. Of course, I'm doing more work than I need to because I already know the answer is going to be 3 twice, right? Plus 3, x equals 3. Of course, x equals 3 again. Now, in theory, there's still two answers. Even though the answer occurs twice, there are, in theory, two answers, okay? All right, now, let's take a look at 11. Slide it up, 11. How many answers? 3. You guys agree?
Yeah.
Agree? 3 answers. So I'm going to have a g equals 0. I'm going to have a 6 minus 3g equals 0. and I have a 6 plus 3g equals 0. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 equations, which should give me 3 answers, right? One of the answers is already there, right? G equals 0, that one's done. There's one answer, 0. The other two, I'm going to need to solve. Okay, so I'm going to go minus 6, and I'll get a negative 3g equals negative 6.
Wouldn't you be adding the 6?
No, because there's a little plus sign right here we never write. Good question, Annika. Divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and I get g equals 2. Okay. The last one, so I've got 1, 2 answers. Here's my third, minus 6, I'll have a 3g equals negative 6, right? Divide by 3, g equals negative 2. Okay, thumbs up so far? Okay. Now, I'm going to turn the page, and we're going to talk about what if it needs to be factored first. We can do that. We just practice factoring, right? So if I turn the page, let's go down to number 19, okay? Go down to number 19, because we can skip the rest, okay? Because we know how to factor. So number 19, okay? So the thing with number 19 is we're going to have to factor first. We're going to factor first, okay? So what do these two have in common? A k, right? Now to help me out, I'm going to put a 1 right here. That is a 1k. You all right with that? That's a 1k. But they have a k in common, so if I take out my k, I'd have a 6k plus 1 equals 0. And now it's the same kind of problem that we just did on the previous page, right? So do my little mini equations. I've got k equals 0, and I'll have a 6k plus 1 equals 0. K equals 0 solved. There's one answer, 0. And on the second one, I'll go minus 1, 6k equals negative 1. Divide by 6, and I get negative 1/6 as my second answer, okay? How's that so far? Okay. Now, let's drop down to number 22, okay? Okay, let's drop down to 22. So if we're going to common factor, what we like to do is have them equal to 0. They need to equal 0, and that way we can factor. So to make them equal to 0, I'm going to literally bring the 72x over this side, okay?
And it's going to be...
It is, because we have to add it, right? So to bring it over, I'm going to have to add, you guys agree? Add 72, so I'll have a 6x squared plus 72x equals 0, okay? So I brought it over, get them together so I can factor, right? It needs to equal 0. It has to equal 0. If it doesn't equal 0, it won't work, okay? So then, what do they have in common? A 6 and a x, right? You guys agree with that? You have a 6 and an x in common. So I'll pull out the 6x. So if I pull out a 6x out of a 6x squared, I'll have an x plus, I pull a 6x out of 72, let's see, 6 goes in 72 12 times, and I pull that as x. Okay. And now, come back here. And now, I have my two mini equations. 6x equals 0, x plus 12 equals 0. Okay. You're going to start skipping steps, aren't you? And I don't mind if you skip steps. Yeah, as long as you know what you're doing, right? Divide by 6, one answer is x equals 0. Minus 12, x equals negative 12, okay? Last one we're going to do is 25. We're going to do a little story problem, then we'll be finished, okay? Pretty easy, you guys agree? And I think for a lot of you we did this last year, didn't we? Okay, so this is kind of a review. So let's slide up to 25, right? Number 25. Boy kicks a ball in the air. The height h in feet above the ground of the ball is modeled by y equals negative 16x squared plus 80x, where x is the time the ball is kicked. Find the roots. Now the roots mean the zero, so it's a fancy word. Roots also mean zeros. Okay, it also means zeros, okay? So if it's zeros, we're saying, okay, the zeros when it's set equal to 0. So let's take our negative 16 x squared plus 80x and set it equal to 0, because roots is a fancy word for zeros, okay? So when you see roots, it's another word for zeros, okay? So set it equals 0. Okay, now, if we wanted to solve for x, two answers, right? You guys agree, two answers?
Yes.
Okay, can we factor?
Yes, you do.
We can take out a negative 16x. Okay, we really can take out a negative 16x. We're going to have an x minus 5. And I'll let you think about that for a second. 5 times 16 is 80, but a negative times a negative is a positive. You guys agree with that? Okay, so now all we have to do is our mini equations.
Wait. Okay.
Get our mini equation.
Couldn't you also just do negative x plus 5?
Yes, because yeah, totally right, yeah. Negative 16x equals 0, and an x minus 5 equals 0, right? Divide by negative 16 and x equals 0. Add 5 and x equals 5. Okay, so two answers actually make sense to me. So the ball is at a height of 0 before you kick it. Right? I'll say it again. The ball is at a height of 0 before you kick it. At time is 0. Does that make sense? The ball's just sitting there. I haven't kicked it yet. So time equals 0. It's there. And then it goes up. And 5 seconds later, it hits the ground. Okay? So two answers actually really do make sense. When's the ball on the ground? Before you kick it. And when it lands. Okay. Thumbs up. So I have an assignment in there. It's this kind of stuff. And I'd also like you to, when you get done, instead of goofing off, I'd like you to work on